Welcome to On the Edge with April Mahoney Brains. Here, this is the spot where the conversation is pointed, the guests are sharp, and the responses are never dull. Welcome home, Brains. There's only one requirement to hang out on the edge, is that you open your big brain and close your small mind. Did you bring your thinking caps? It's time to put them on, because the conversation starts now.
Hey, beautiful. How are you?
Good, thanks. And yourself? How are you?
I'm good. Welcome to On the Edge with April Mahoney, the place where the conversation is pointed, the guests are sharp, and the responses are never dull. That's right. And you will get put under arrest.
Lovely to be here. Thank you.
Welcome. All the way from the United Kingdom, Jenny Donaldson.
That's right.
A former London, UK police officer. What was it, baby? 35 years, 36 years?
Yes, it's about that now. Yes, because I've been retired for 5 years and it'll be 37 years since I joined, because I was 32 years in before I retired.
Wow, that's amazing. And Brains, let me tell you something. Jenny was a police officer without a gun. How about that, Americans? Civil unrest, she saw murders, she saw robberies and kidnappings and robberies, and never had a pistol.
Just my mouth.
Listen, and what do you call those? We call a billy club. What do you guys call them? A bobby stick or something?
Oh, a truncheon. Or nowadays they have an asp, which is one that sort of elongates when you rack it.
When they rag it across that nugget. Do you guys in the UK, did you guys have restrictions on what type of holes, like you couldn't use the choke hole and things like that to try to arrest your criminal?
Well, absolutely. We'd have certain training, and obviously if something was to happen in the press or someone sort of came off worse or was injured, then they would alter the training. So everybody is fully trained, and you have to have training every year to make sure that your skills are up to date. And if you don't pass them, then you're not allowed on the streets technically.
And you also use tasers, but you have to have special training for a taser, right?
Absolutely. Not all officers have tasers. I know they want to have a few more officers to have them. I didn't have one. I didn't want one. I didn't need one.
See, she didn't need one. She used a brain. What about, I was going to ask you, there's criminals. Now, are you permitted to carry a gun or have a gun as a civilian in London?
No. It's our laws are very, very much tightened up. It comes around firearms. You have to have a firearms license. Generally, the many people that have them would be farmers, would have their shotgun licenses. But to generally have a firearm, we wouldn't have it. No.
And you know, they're killing kids in schools here. They're getting their parents weapons, and it's mass shootings all over the world. And I don't know why we can't, but you know, we got that Second Amendment right now. I'm a gun owner, but I'm a responsible gun owner. Oh yes, I love my Mabel, honey. She's beautiful. I'm a very good marksman too. You know, really, I was shocked when I looked. I was like, "Oh my God, I killed him dead." You know, I try to wound somebody. You know, if I can get him in the kneecap or something like that. I wasn't trying to kill nobody, but I was a straight up, bullseye shot. My daughter is very good with a bow and arrow. She can pick you off from 50 yards. Oh yes, she's very good with that. So enough of the violence. Let's talk about the love factor. Let's go back and talk a little bit about your history, how you found law enforcement, and then I want to fast forward to what it was like being a woman of color, a Black woman in London without a gun, protecting and serving your public. Tell us a little about you, Jenny.
Okay, well, I go back way back. My parents, for my mum. I'm so sorry. I never got my
Let the
phone.
phone
Did you
ring.
hear this?
That's all right. Let the phone ring. The brains know that the
Okay,
phone rings sometime.
right. Okay. Well, I had it off. I don't know why that was came on. I'm so sorry about that.
All right.
Well, my parents, my mother was from Guyana, and my dad was from St Vincent. And they came to the country, to the UK, and I'm the third child of the third daughter of four, and we grew up in, well, just outside London. And really, I think I would say that I first experienced sort of racism as a child growing up, because there weren't, where we grew up, there weren't many black families at all.
Mm.
And at school, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I really didn't. The education at that time, it was very much, there was no one's pushing you to do any better, really. So really, I think I didn't go to university. There was none of that at the time. It was very much just getting you through the system. But I knew that when I came up to the time when I wanted to finish, that I didn't want to just do nothing. I didn't. So I became a secretary, and I'd worked for the Caribbean Times newspaper, which is a black newspaper.
Mhm.
And I did a couple of secretarial roles. I just fell into that. But it was whilst I was between jobs, I decided that I really wanted a career. But it was 1983, and this was 2 years after the Brixton Riots.
Mm.
And that's when I made my decision to become a police officer. It was just very much out of the blue. I spoke to my mum and said, look, what do you think of this? You know, I want a career. I really want to sort of excel in something. And my parents were very, very supportive. And my three best friends, they were, you know, with me. And I didn't know any police officers. I didn't know any officers at all, black or white. I didn't know what the whole thing entailed, but I knew on that day when I made my decision that I just called up Scotland Yard. I've got the yellow pages out and called up the main office and just said, look, how do I join? And at that time they were having a recruitment drive. They were really trying to encourage more black people to join. And that afternoon I went straight up to the yard, and I had a nice sit down with one of the female officers, going through the whole plan. And it was on that particular day in March that I just made my decision. So the application, my whole application took only 6 months. And I know apparently some people are trying years to get in.
Mm.
But I passed the exams to get in. The physical, I mean, I've always been physically fit. So I managed to get through there. But it was going through the application that I nearly changed my mind. I actually went for another job in between, and I was about to have my second interview, and I called up the officer who I spoke to about my application initially, and she did the kindest thing. I never forgot this. She told me to meet her. She said, you know, come to the yard, Scotland Yard. Let me take you to lunch. She took me to lunch, and she said to me, if you don't try it, you will never know. You'll always wonder.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, I've since told many people that. I've even told my son that when he was joining the Navy, when he was having doubts. You know, I said that if you don't try it, you'd always live your life wondering, what if?
What if? What if?
Yeah.
So fast forwarding, you get there, you go through the training, you get accepted, you have that wow factor, and then all of a sudden, bip bam boom, they hit you with the racism. What happened then?
Well, it was the first day actually. As
Mm.
I arrived at
Welcome,
training
welcome.
school, yeah, as I arrived at training school the very first day, they had these wardens that would wear uniform. The wardens are people who looked after the buildings. They weren't police officers. And as I walked past, he said, oh my God, he said that we've got loads of them.
Oh.
So I looked at him and I didn't understand at that time what he meant. It was only when I went into the main room with all the other new recruits from my group were, and I noticed there was another black guy, a black female, and another female who was of a mixed heritage. And between us, he thought that was loads of them. So that was one of my very, very first. So wow. yeah. But was I surprised? I probably wasn't surprised, because my mum said to me before I actually joined, my mum actually took me along. Actually, we got on the train together. she left me at the gates. And her last words to me before I went in was, "Don't let them run you." She didn't specify who, but she said, "Don't let them run you."
Wow.
And I've always kept that. And she also gave me a little prayer, actually, which I always keep with me. It's got a little cross. So she just gave me that too.
You needed that. So
Yeah.
how were you received? Now that was, your welcome aboard Scotland Yard. But as you worked in the community, did they put you like in Black communities so that, you felt comfortable, or you could communicate, or you could relate more with that population?
Well, to be honest, I was fearful because I was worried. I didn't want to go to Brixton. I remember thinking I didn't want to go to Brixton. I think the communities that I was more fearful of was my own community. And I'm putting my hands out. I was. And I remember saying, "Oh, please don't put me to Brixton. Please don't send me to Brixton." And I was sent to the West End. And I was quite glad I went to the West End, because West End is very mixed. Not many people live there. The only people that lived in the West End were very, very wealthy people. And then, so it was a mix of people that came into the West End to shop, or, to socialize. And I got enough bad talk from them anyway. So, and I'm glad that it went that way, because I was only 19. I didn't really know myself then. I didn't think I'd built that resilience up. It took me time to sort of build my inner resilience to be able to cope with that. So for me, that was the right decision. It wasn't my decision, I went where they sent me. And, but.
How did you find the wherewithal and the bandwidth to sustain that for over 30 years? I mean, I'm sure that you gained your respect, as we call it here in the US, your street cred. You got your, all of that.
And I was dancing with one of my colleagues. I said all my colleagues were white, bar one, but my Black colleague wasn't there at that night. And as we finished dancing, I walked off the dance floor, and I then learned that one of my colleagues had been called an N-lover from another officer from another station. And I remember they'd been told to sit down, and there was so much tension in the air where suddenly my station, Vine Street, and Holborn, there was like a them and us. And ever since that time, my team, for my first 2 years that I worked with, they were so protective of me. I think then they realized that there were other people who, who all did the same job, resented the fact that I was there. So I was protected by my team, very much so.
That's wonderful. And again, it's all about the education and the sensitivity. When people touch you, they feel you, they smell you. Look like you smell so good. But again, and they know that the blood that's running through your veins is warm. And the only thing that separates you from them is the color of your skin, and you have no control over that.
Well, yeah, exactly. But
they didn't know.
It's a shame
for them.
Yeah, and it's a shame that there was just so many, people who didn't work with me closely, just didn't understand or didn't want to understand me. There was one officer in my first month. We had to go out walking with more experienced officers, and my sergeant would always try to make sure that I had a variety of people to walk with. So on this particular day, I walked with this officer, and he didn't speak to me. He didn't say, "Jenny," he didn't call my name. He didn't say come, he didn't say go. We walked the streets for 8 hours and we did nothing. He didn't talk to me. He didn't even look in my direction. And I realized we were going back to the station at some point, because I thought, okay, I recognize this bit. We got back to the station. He went to have his food, ordered his lunch. And when I went to sit near him, he got up and moved elsewhere. And then I just sat there. And then afterwards, when he's finished eating, I realized he got up, picked up his hat, picked up his coat, and he started to walk out the station. And then I followed him like a little puppy. And I remember at the end of the shift, I spoke to my sergeant and said, "Please, can I not work with him again?" I said, "He didn't speak to me." But there was no one you can report things to, because I knew that if I reported anything to,
they were all the same.
Yeah, exactly.
They were all the same, ignorant.
Yeah.
Okay, so fast forward. So things progressed as you worked in the police department, more women, more people of color. How did you see things change? And from your experience, How were you able to impact some of those changes?
Right. Well, it's all things started in maybe 90, because when at training school there was another class that had two black guys, and so we were forming already our own little, community. And so we had a few people that we knew. So, there weren't many black officers out of nearly 30,000 at that point in 1990. This is a few years after I joined. The records say there was about 400 black and minority officers in the whole of the Met. Actually, by the end of 90, it's nearly 500. But what was happening, a lot of black officers were leaving in droves. So the Met was really worried that they were going to lose all their, diverse staff. So we were all sent to Bristol, this place up north. I don't know the area, but we all sent to Bristol. We didn't have any choice, but we had to go, and they wanted us to speak freely to these facilitators to talk about our experiences. And that was really cathartic, actually, to actually share your experiences and the stuff that had been, happening. And it's all black officers. And then after that, that evening, we all went out sort of partying, and it was fabulous. It was just nice. But that was the beginnings of the Black Police Association, which I was one of the former founder members of. So we started saying, well, there's obviously a need to have a support group. It started off as a support group. And there was a lot of opposition. Absolutely. People said, well, why do you need to have a separate group? You've already got a federation.
What are you guys going to be talking about? What are you going to be conspiring about? It's like, we want love, we want support, we want someone to look like us, we want someone that's had our experience, we want someone that knows how to talk to people in our community. Because see, here in the United States, the white police officer will put his knee on your neck, choke you out until you're dead, or instead of, again, like me, trying to aim for your shoulder or your knee, they go straight for your heart and your head. They kill you, and they load up rounds. We just had an incident here where they went into the woman's house on a drug raid. Wrong house. She's standing there butt naked. But, you've got the wrong house. This is not who you need. So was there any accountability, in the long term for these officers? Were there any training for the white officers? Because it was not just, okay, so you had black and white. What other minorities were there in the police officers?
Oh, we generally have a wide range, black, Asian, and then now we're having some officers who are from sort of Turkish backgrounds, Polish. So it is starting to become a mix. When we're talking about visible.
When you say Turkish and Polish, they're still white Europeans. Did you have a mix of Asians? Did you have people from India? Did you have people from, I don't know, Mexican or Spaniards, anything like that?
Yeah, we have had some, well, Spanish, we had some. I don't know any Mexican officers. Me personally, I don't. But there is a mix. I can't categorically say what we have, but yeah, we do have sort of, people from Bangladesh, Pakistan, parts of India.
Because I'm just wondering, I say that because, okay, you had this experience, you had this revelation as a Black woman, but what are these other minorities feeling? Because they're subjected to racism based upon their culture, their heritage, their look, the same thing. So they're feeling isolated. And I'm really hoping that, if there's just a small spackling of them, that the Black Police Officers Association will reach out to them.
No, absolutely.
Embrace them.
Yeah, no, that was one of the arguments we were having when we were trying to form the name. What was it going to be called? Was it going to be called minority ethnic? But part of the constitution was the fact that Black was encompassing everyone who was different. Now we have other associations which are more specific, like the Jewish Association. But at the time, it was anyone who was from a diverse background. So that was to encompass everyone. So
now you do this. You do this for the Black Association. What about women? How were I'm sure that's tough, being a woman in that environment. Was there camaraderie between female officers, or they too looked at the color of your skin first before the content of your heart?
No, absolutely. Initially, because obviously the women were having their own sort of issues, being second class in the Met, and there were some officers, female, who were not kind, and I know it's because of my colour. The most ridiculous thing I remember, there was a couple of officers at my first station, not on my team, and I joined the netball team. And the most ridiculous thing, we're on the same team playing netball, and they wouldn't throw the ball to me. And I just think this is just so ridiculous. You know, that's how far it got. And then there was another thing with other women. Frankly, I didn't have that myself, but I know there were other women then being unkind to other female officers because they were jealous. I just had it because I was Black. I didn't feel that they were
No, it
jealous of
wasn't
me.
just because you were Black, Jenny.
Mhm.
Because you were Black, you were beautiful, you were smart, you were courageous, you were good at what you did, and they were jealous, and they were envious, and they were insecure, and they felt threatened. Okay,
Yeah.
that's for you or any other brain out there that's got an issue. Okay, that's what that's about. It's not about just the color of our skin, because surprisingly enough, there's a lot of people out there that really envy us for who we are and where we've come from and the ability to overcome. You know, that's like here in the United States, we had all of these riots over the George Floyd killing. And, you know, Black Lives Matter. They got an issue with Black Lives Matter. Well, we coined the phrase. We stand up for who we are. Black Power, Black Panthers. Because again, that's what you're judging us upon, is our Blackness. And if we were really these barbarians and these beasts that people fear and think that we are, honestly, we should have had this handled. Okay. But that is not who we are. We are kind, loving people. We are God-fearing people. We are indigenous people. We are the first people. I don't care, brains. You can get mad at me if you want to. Okay. It's the truth. Tell the truth and shame the devil right here on the edge. Okay. Because I'm going to tell you how it is. Okay. Now, that's not to say that we're better, but that is not to say that we are less than. Equal to or greater than in some situations. And it's very, very hard to keep having to fight the same fight. We don't have any control over this. And it's, you know, it's ignorance. It's ignorance. It's not knowing. All right. So now you've created this great program. You've got your colleagues involved. Tell us where you are today with working with, because I know that you still have a foundation or a program. Tell us a little bit about that and what the work is that you're doing now to kind of, you know, equal the playing field and get the ball thrown to you.
Well, since retiring, I took a couple of years out just to reset myself and support my family. And I have been conducting talks in schools, sort of educational talks, talking about my journey, talking about being in the police service. It's very much wanting to get the younger generation to maybe consider that as a career. But what I'm actually doing also is, I'm now an associate for this organisation that we help women and people from diverse backgrounds practice the interviewing process to join the police if they wish to.
Oh, okay. That's
great. So that's what we're actually doing. Because if you've not had any background at all about the policing, and the whole structure is changed to get in, so your first time you go in to apply for the service, you've got this competency-based interview. Now it's all online because of COVID, and it's totally alien to you. So it's all about just getting them to think sort of differently, so that the time when they do go for their real-time interview, that they have a better chance of being successful first time.
Was there a pay differentiator? Did you get paid differently than your white colleagues or other?
Oh, no. That's probably one of the only jobs that you get paid the same. There was one particular rate. I mean, there was one time when women were getting paid more because we were paying less pension, but then there was an uproar about that, and then we had to sort of get that in line. But no, the pay is the same throughout the actual ranks.
Okay. Yeah. Two things. The first thing, thank you so much for wearing your lapel pin.
Absolutely, yes. You can have that.
Brain. And secondly, I want to send my deepest condolences to your family for the loss of your mom from COVID-19. Tell us a little bit about that experience, only because that's the sign of the times, as much as you want to share. So people are aware that it is real.
Yeah.
They don't believe that it's real. How it's impacting minority communities. How, is there hope? Is there fear? What did you go through?
At the beginning of the lockdown, the first initial lockdown, I was feeling really fearful, very fearful, because I have a condition called sarcoidosis, which affects my lungs. My younger sister, who is a serving police officer, also is a chronic asthmatic. I mean, our conditions have never stopped us doing what we, our jobs. But suddenly COVID hit, and that possibility of, oh my gosh, my mother was in a care home, and she's 89. She was feisty, very strong. She'll tell you what for. She had dementia, but she was eating well. And then suddenly we got a phone call in the middle of April to say that she wasn't well, because we were no longer able to go to visit her, but we were having FaceTime conversations. And obviously receiving this call, I was concerned, we were all concerned. So we did have a FaceTime call with the nurse so that we can actually see our mum. The next day, a doctor saw her via FaceTime and said that they thought she had pneumonia. Didn't really accept that. So I thought, hold on, pneumonia? She'd already recovered from pneumonia the year before. She's very strong. She had a stroke a couple of years before that and totally recovered from that. Really strong woman. And within basically sort of hours, we were told that the doctor told us that he believed it was COVID. The home was denying that. They said they didn't have any COVID, but she'd been given 2 sets of antibiotics, and the following Tuesday, we then got told that she'd worsened. She was going to see a doctor again. Doctor saw her again. We were told in the morning that she was responding well to the antibiotics, and I was beginning to think, oh gosh, a bit of hope. And then lunchtime, we got a phone call, said she died. And that, up to now, I don't really think that I absolutely accept that she's gone, or my sisters. It's been such a weird experience because we never saw her again. She was put in a body bag in her nightie, and her bag was sealed, and we had never seen her mum again. The next time I was in the presence of my mum was at her own funeral, and we attended. There's only 5 of us. We can only have 11, but we had 5 of us attend. And it was a coffin with my mum's name in it. And it's very difficult. I actually cried. I think I cried for 10 minutes initially, but then it doesn't seem real. And then I cried. Sadly, we had a tragic murder in September of a colleague who happened to be a good friend of mine. He was murdered on duty. And I think the combination of that, and then with my mum, I think I had about 4 days when I just needed to just bawl on my own.
You needed to decompress. You need to process it. And grief is a process, and it's not, it's a way to cope. It's not to get over. It's not to forget. It's a way to cope. It's a way to adjust. But what has that taught you personally about living and dying and your own immortality?
It's
taught you?
It's made me really think about what's important. My family. It made me think about all the stuff that you don't need. That made me think about connecting to those people that you haven't, instead of putting stuff off, you need to sort of think in the moment sometimes. And I mean the whole situation has made me waste less. I mean, seriously, so much different things. It might think about my family more. What's so important.
It's taught me to reflect. It's taught me to, I think about my family and what they've done, but I think about who I am and what I've done. and what legacy and what imprint I want to leave
Yes.
on this planet, and what I want people to think about me and say about me, and the good works and good deeds that I am still able to do. You know, I've made peace with my God. I know that sounds odd, but again, you know, people are running around getting a test. Just because you get a test doesn't mean, that's just telling you if you're positive or negative.
Yes.
That's not a way of, you know, alienating you, or, you know, you dodging the bullet. We've got a vaccine. Again, Black people, people of color, period, are very skeptical because we've been used as, you know, test dummies before. Oh, okay, let's inject them. And if, you know, they're the indigenous people, remember, they're the first people on the earth. And if they survive it, well, then by golly George, you know, now we'll go ahead and take it, you know? So it's some trickery. And I hit people to the trickery all the time. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about if I'm going to take it. I'm going to wait. You know, I'm sure I'm going to have to wait. But it's a money game too. You know, who's got it is 3 different big pharma companies.
Yeah.
I'm not discouraging people because I'm not a physician, and I want people to, you know, get involved in science and research, because that is where our DNA is different. And we need to definitely know what's going to work with us and what's going to work with other people so that we can survive. But what happens here in the United States is they take away your health care. So even if there is a vaccine, you can't get to the doctor to get it. So it's one thing after another. So now you're writing a book. Tell us what's going to be in the pages of your book, and what is that about?
Right. Well, my book is about my experiences. It was going to be about the first 5 years, but I've decided to extend it throughout, you know, for the majority of my service. So it's going to be a story about what's going to be. I've nearly finished the first draft. So it's about me, about resilience, and how, and it's about, you know, my time in the service and how I overcame things, about resilience, about being determined to do, you know, you have a plan that you're going to complete what you're going to do. So again, it's a bit about sort of, you know, my family life as well. So it's,
well, that's beautiful, because you've got a lot of stories. So we've talked about some heavy stuff. Let's play a round of a few questions. Let me ask you some random questions. Okay? See what you're going to say. What, Officer Donaldson? Is that what they call you? Or you called you a Bobby? What do they call you there in London, please?
Well, it would, be officer. But before I left, my colleagues, my staff would call me Mom because I was an inspector.
Oh, okay. See? Okay, you went from sloppy seconds to now being the mother of everyone. You better watch that, brains. All right, so if you were an animal, what animal would you be and why?
Oh gosh, I'd have to be, I'm a cat lover. I love cats. I'd probably have to be a big cat.
You like a cat?
Yes, yeah. Yes, I'd have to be a female. Yeah, I'll have to be a female lioness, because I love the way how that they come together as a group, and they work together, you know, and when they're all together, that there is no man, no massive lion that can overtake them when they work together. That's what I love.
Okay.
That pride of lionesses.
You know what animal I would be?
Which one?
I'd be a party animal. For real. All right. What's your favorite color and why?
Oh, my favorite color would be red. And because number one, red is a really good color for me. It's passion. It used to be blue, but I've changed my you know, my outlook. Red. When I'm wearing red, I feel like there's nothing that I can't do.
It's power. It's a power.
Yeah.
My favorite color is green.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you'll always see a black line of green. I love green. That's a power color as well. A lot of energy.
Yes.
So what are 2 things that you just absolutely cannot live without?
Oh my word. What 2 things? Well, one thing that I normally wear every day is mascara. I know it seems a bit sort of because I've noticed I've got a great eyelash in each. of my eyes, one right in the middle.
Oh, God. Is that the worst thing that you could have?
I know. What I can't live without. Well, that's definitely one. I can't think of another one. Because I know some people say their phones or something like that. And
But you didn't say that.
no, but
You didn't say that because
yeah.
that device is a killer.
Yeah. I mean, I can put mine in the other room. It's fine. I have forgotten it and gone out, and I thought, oh, I've forgotten it. I'll get back, and it hasn't rang.
What music do you like?
Sorry, music. I'm quite eclectic. I like all kinds of stuff. I like R&B. I like garage. A bit of classical if I really want to sort of, do a bit of studying. All kinds of music. I don't have one particular. I like a bit of lovers rock. Yes, I mean, that was my era growing up, very much lovers rock and a bit of R&B and a bit of slow dancing type stuff. But I love salsa. I should do a bit of salsa dancing as well. Love it.
I know, I love that too. That's a Latin influence.
Yes.
What's your favorite meal?
I like Chinese food.
Ooh.
I like Chinese food. I mean, I love sort of like traditional Caribbean food. Chinese food, I'll have it on sort of tap. But one of my favorite, what my mum used to make was roti and curry, like how Guyanese people make it. Roti and curry and dal puri and all that. Oh,
so good.
Yeah. I can eat it now.
Okay. And so let me ask you this final question, Jenny. When you meet our Creator in heaven, and he says, "Well done, my child," what is going to be your response? How are you going to want to be remembered? And what is he thanking you for? What have you done well at?
Yeah. I think you would thank me for bringing up my boys with respect and having grace for people, and being of service. I've always liked to be of service to help people. Yeah, I think those are the main things, to bring up my kids. I'm not one of those people, I'm not the type of a warring person at all. I would rather have a discussion and explain there's nothing that bad we can't discuss. But I would always like to think that I've always done my best to help people. I've always, been of service and brought my boys up to respect, the fellow human beings.
Well, I think that you're an amazing lioness with beautiful long lashes, without a gray one in there, that loves Chinese food, that has a red mane and a heart of gold. And you're a great mother. And thank you so much for being here on the edge. Where's my book card? Right here. On the edge.
On the edge.
On the edge. On the place where we are connecting people. We're protecting people. And we're serving our community, no matter what color you are. If you need help, we've got people like Jenny that's willing to help you. You got people like me that's willing to communicate and facilitate. So Brains, go in and subscribe right now. I need you to subscribe to the YouTube channel and listen to other edgy conversations because they're important. And we go to the people's heart. These people that I bring on the show are not here just for shit and giggles. They're here because they care. They want to communicate. They want to resonate in your heart. They want to make a difference because they have learned the art of resilience. Thank you so much for being here on the edge with me, Jenny. I think you're wonderful. And I'm looking forward to that book. Okay. Let me know. Give me the exclusive. So I want to hear all about it. And I want to be the first one to have the opportunity to release that for you. Okay.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much for having me on your show. Thank you.
All right. Bye, baby.